privilege.
Gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For my introduction, Mr. Speaker, delivering today's prayer is my pastor, Father Horace Tuck. We call him Father Tuck Grinnell of St. Charles Borromeo Parish in Arlington County. Father Tuck is a native Virginian. He was born in Charlottesville. He attended school right here in Richmond at the Benedictine High School. I want to welcome Father Tuck back to Thomas Jefferson's capital. He's standing there in the back, and I will ask the body to give him a warm house welcome. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for my point of personal privilege, I wanted to come to the body to talk about the Department of Justice agreement that we had with the administration. And I do want to first acknowledge, just say a few points, but I first want to acknowledge the tremendous work that the administration, particularly Secretary Bill Hazel, put into this effort to really come to this historic agreement. And as hard as that was, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House, this really is the most difficult part of doing that, trying to accomplish the four corners of the agreement. We didn't get into this problem overnight, and this is not a Republican or Democratic criticism. This is a Virginia criticism. We've gotten to this problem. It's taken a long time, and it's going to take a long time to get out of it, but it's the right thing to do, and I'm very much convinced. But point number one I wanted to make is I'm very happy in looking through the agreement that the focus is on serving people in more of an integrated setting. We know that people can do better in an integrated setting, and that is the focus of the agreement. But we have to do this right, and we have to ensure the safe and successful transition into these integrated sessions. I mean, we really can mess this up, and so we want to make sure, Mr. Speaker, that we do this in the right way. And there's a number of provisions in there. There's some safeguards in there for making the transition. There's quality assurances. There's risk management, plenty of discharge planning and independent monitoring. And that will be very crucial. Before we let open the first door to these training centers, we need to make sure that what's waiting for them out there is sufficient and as good, if not better, care than what they're currently receiving in the training center, and we have to make that happen. Point number two, Mr. Speaker, and this is a really important point, and I know it's one that the gentleman from Colonial Heights and the gentleman from Augusta have spent a lot of time dealing with, and that is our waiting list, our Medicaid waiting list. We currently have about 6,000 people on that waiting list, and about half of those people, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House, are on what they call the urgent needs list, which means they are just one disaster, one thing from happening to them that would put them normally into a training center. And so you don't want to create a two-way street situation. We have to make sure that not only are we adequately providing for the people in the training center to transition, but those on that waiting list, we need to make sure that they are not put into a situation where they're put into an institution. And that would go against the agreement. And so we need to plan for those individuals. Now, the waiting list grows just by doing nothing, grows 800 a year. And if you looked at the details of the agreement, it does have some waiter or slots that they put in on the waiting list, but that doesn't even keep up with what's currently happening. So we need to go above and beyond. If we did nothing, we'd be looking at a list of 13,000 people on that waiting list over the next 10 years. So we need to go further than that, Mr. Speaker, to take care of a promise that the General Assembly made, I believe it was back in 2009, that we're going to end that waiting list permanently and once and for all. So we need to go above and beyond, and we need to address that. Now, I had a budget amendment in this year for 1,500 waiting list. I know that's a big number and that's an expensive number, but it's in the ballpark. It can be done, and I think it's something that we need to start working our goal towards every single year to start bringing down that list. Point number three, Mr. Speaker, and I know this is on everyone's mind, how are we going to pay for this? And that's a very important point. Now, there are inherent savings into transitioning people from institutional care into home and community-based care. It costs on average about $225,000 a year to keep someone in an individualized setting, institutional setting. And it's about $80,000 or even more less expensive to keep them in the community. So I think that there's some inherent savings here when you start transitioning people, and we need to make sure that those resources, those savings that we come from that that we're able to put back into the program to ensure that we have the provider rates are taken care of down there, that put more money in the transition for the training centers, and also eliminate that waiting list once and for all. I think we can do this. This is going to be a very difficult task. We're going to have to be very careful. It's not going to be easy. We can screw this up. This is not something that's going to be done overnight, and we need to be very, very sensitive to the needs of the families in the training center, those coming out, and making sure we make it work. And so I look forward to working with everyone to make that happen. I think this is an historic agreement, and I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm very confident of that. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yep.